What's up, guys? Been a while. I wanted to finish the final Varg book, the breakaway hit, the of 2024, the Varg book series, where he just kind of did like autobiographical thing of what he went through, and I believe he's making an omnibus of all the books. I like to get that just to see how many pages you could do in this POD format. You know, I'm sure you could. Why not? Why couldn't you make like a 19th century Victor Hugo length novel with this platform? I can't see why. But of course, Varg's on the cover. I like this. My man's ready to fight. Wah! In his karate stance with his camo, his Atari Soviet camo from Red Dawn, and his I think that's the Soviet knockoff of the SS Autumn camo. Of course, the P dot on his. I forgot. I think this is the Lada. I forgot which one this is, but my man's ready for action. Now, it's very interesting, as he says. The book is essentially 1/3 of it is, after he was released from prison, what he went through was actually kind of crazy. Obviously, he talked about in the past books about recording the albums, but what he went through when they tried the feds in France essentially try to whack him. Right? And then the other 2/3 of it are kind of like the learning on the job, being a homesteader, and it's interesting to see. And also in the videos in rural France and rural Western Europe, you have probably the last people that are more like their ancestors still existing, right? The French farmers, as my grandfather mentioned, having interactions with them as an occupying German soldier. He was very impressed by them. So we'll go here. I just thought it was interesting here too. Like even when he's about to get released, they're doing this stuff. They're saying that he has insufficiently developed spiritual capabilities. This is not even a psychiatric term. It was a term actually used also on Newt Hampson. Remember him, the author? And what he found out as he was released, trying to do normal things like get plane tickets, rent cars, people were taking it upon themselves to fight for justice and to fight against the evil Nazi Varg, okay, which the whole establishment said was okay to go after. It's interesting. People felt bold enough not to serve him, not to give him, sell him tickets. And of course, trying to get some kind of legal latitude as well as a little anonymity. He had his name changed to Louis Cachet right after he took his wife's name. How matriarchal. It's interesting too when he mentions the people in his families, both sides of his family, right, named after was this King Christian of Denmark and Julius Caesar. I guess their parents either had a sense of humor or had big ambitions for their sons. Yeah, and also, of course, the infamous where they gave him that is like a $4 million bill. So he said, I packed my bags and left Norway and took my little family with me. Fuck you, Norway. Yeah, that's right. Fuck. So now he's free, and it's just we'll go through some things here of the learning process of trying to deal with things in court. Mentioning how, like for example, in Norway they get in your business. Right? France, they give you a little more privacy. France seems like a more normal country. It's actually interesting. It makes you wonder why you're so big about the elf purity of Varg. Those are your people up there. I like this. And essentially, it was my racist ideas. Yeah, troubled them. They had no problems with bands spewing out satanic nonsense, promoting cannibalism, pedophilia, necrophilia, pornography, or rape. But don't you dare promote the survival of your own Gentile heritage, white boy. Right. That's why Varg is beyond the pale, right? And even the murder is just a technicality, is it? Or the fight that ended up in someone dying, which is, you can argue that in history, that's what a real fight is. But anyway, we'll go through like some of the stuff here. Still trying to get out of there. Essentially, and this is something that a lot of people can relate to, right? When you think about the situation he's in, I knew nothing of value when I got out of prison. I had no useful knowledge, no skills, no real life experience. I was basically still 19 years old, as I had been when I was first thrown in prison. and a poorly educated and inexperienced 19-year-old at that, and in a world that had changed dramatically since then. Yeah, that's right. From when he went in the early 90s, even to getting out around, the 2010s. The world had really changed a lot. So this is how I had to start out really. As an adult, I had to learn everything you saw on my own starting in my late 30s. I was basically right. I had to learn how to make a phone call with a cell phone. I had to learn how to use a credit card. I had to learn how to create a Gmail account. I didn't know anything about anything normal. I was helpless and useless in my late 30s already. Let me go here. I get the cool photo. Look at all his children. Right? It's always cool. I always recommend Marie's Cachet's channel, which is still up. Very interesting channel on there. You get to see how their homestead is. It's very, very interesting. Very entertaining. Of course, the infamous incident where the Paris police came into town and decided they were going to raid the rental that they were staying at because his wife had bought a few firearms, essentially hunting firearms. And here we go. I will describe it right here. One early morning, around 6 o'clock, we woke up, right, to a loud bang. And basically, the police were, they failed. Actually, they did a pretty bad job. Of course, remember, even in France, in Europe, especially the older homes, I assume, but even the ones in the city, they're very heavily fortified. Okay? Unlike the American places that are made to break into. Right? Oh, I got my gun. Yeah, well, the feds are here with her. So, right, and they handcuffed the wife, him. They got the kids were terrified, as you can imagine. Interesting seeing the photos, and you see and this is interesting when he starts noticing the differences in France. The local cops, like in the area, they were kind of pissed. They were pissed, and you could tell there was antagonism between the French countryside people and the city people. Who are these city Paris people coming in acting all arrogant? So it was interesting too how, unlike Norway, in France, the rights of man were a little more, I guess, in effect, if you can believe that. It's very interesting when you think of it. All right, don't shoot the door up and drag the pregnant lady living there out in handcuffs in front of her small children. So, and yeah, it's interesting too. No, he went to trial in Paris. Look at the euros he had to pay. You're convicted of anti-Semitism. Oh, no. Yeah, well, could I had recommended reading Mein Kampf to people. Oh, talked warmly about German World War II uniforms and said something positive about Joachim Peiper, a German officer who had apparently been convicted for war crimes. Oh, Varg, I can't read this anymore. And now, okay, this has gone, they finally found some property. It's interesting. And I like how they set up. They eventually moved into an old barn from the 19th century, stone barn, right? Moved there. We renovated. A friend of ours helped us, right? Instead of renovating it properly to meet modern standards, I guess the zoning is a little easier over there. We removed the bathroom, the toilet, the broken water heater, the fuse box, the public electricity network connection. Oh, the latter part apparently is not legal. You should ask them to do it for you. Yeah. We just painted everything and just moved it. The roof was semi-okay. And it was at least good enough for us to live under it. So instead of public electricity, we purchased solar panels. I installed them myself. Instead of a toilet, we purchased a cheap dry toilet from the local mill willing to give us wood chips for free. Right? I've heard those are pretty good, actually. Instead of a nice modern kitchen, we had a hot plate like the ones the students use. A high-tech kitchen. Right, instead of a hot new water tank, we just heated water on the stove. I remember having to do that growing up where we were when the fucking heat went out all the time. Ghetto ass apartment. Instead of a shower bathtub, we filled up a little plastic tub with water and washed ourselves there. Right, so very simple. Right? And the idea, they didn't know the idea of a tiny house. It's a shame, right? The tiny house thing has become very bourgeoisized and very expensive. I mean, I drive by and I see there's a lot of places that make sheds, And some of the sheds look pretty good. I'm thinking maybe that might be a future home, like a 2-story shed with like, but going from, he talks about everything from the rabbits, they were raising rabbits, things in the soil, obviously the permaculture idea where, the cutting away of things and putting them for agriculture is natural. And you let things go, you let things grow in their own, they tend to develop on their own better. They mentioned chickens, the whole thing. Oh, I'm doing this one-handed. Send me money to buy a professional. Yeah, okay. I'm not a beggar. And talk about all the problems with the chickens. Of course, what's the big problem? Whether in Europe or America or even South America, you always have those damn foxes everywhere. There's foxes all around here where I live. In the parking lot they come in. And you got chickens, man, they're going to get them. So it's interesting how they went through all the things. The chickens, the rabbits, they slowly learned what they need to do. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put all your chickens in one pen. And of course, when you let the stuff grow, oh, what about ticks? I mean, there's friggin' ticks everywhere. There's ticks all over France, just like here. But the chickens, they love to eat ticks. So they don't have ticks problem, really, because the chickens go out and eat them. Of course, the rabbits are always an issue. It was interesting, too, to go here. The interesting thing he had mentioned about the chickens, right? They eventually, they would buy the chickens. It's a challenge to get them to brood. Right, so you save the damn chickens finally from the foxes, okay? And then it's a challenge to get them not to kill their own children. Right? All the chicken are hens had grown up and become sane hens. They're brooded. They're not kill their own chickens, right? He's talking about the chickens that they would get at the chicken plant. Right? They would do things like kill them, hack their own eyes out, and kill them. Right? You might find it strange that modern hens normally do not brood and raise their own chicken, but if you think about it, these poor industrial chickens came out of their eggs under a warm lamp and never had a mother. They were removed from everything natural and were raised in a chicken factory. Why would they not be completely messed up in their heads? Right, exactly. I like a few other things here. Obviously recommend to get the damn book. And he talks about solar panels, right? We chose solar power. Oh, solar power is not efficient. Well, for your house, it would be efficient. But the problem is you can only get so much power from them. Right? I think, I saw a video of Varg's wife has a tumbler, right? It's not really a dryer. It is a lower powered, sort of like a dryer, right? Because, you can hang your clothes out to dry. Many people do that still. But it's nice having that, right, for time. Solar panels are all well and good, but only for some. Charge your e-bike, right? Use a vacuum cleaner to power your computers. Charge your phones, light up your home for a fridge and a little freezer, right? Maybe some tools, but that is it. And during wintertime, they do all of that barely. That's still a lot, but obviously less than what we're used to. Also, he mentions, right, Honda. I always heard about this. All the halal guys, half of them were Coptic Christians in Queens, I remember, by my old job. They all use the Honda in little inverters. Apparently, Honda is the way to go with the generator. There's little things like that are just interesting. The practicalities, after all, from an artistic person. And of course, the idea of heat. Now, this is interesting to me because, like I said, our house is not insulated. It's made from stone. So it's fairly comfortable in the hot summers, but very cold in the winter. Even when they use their stoves and burn firewood, it pretty much cold. I don't think we ever had more than, 60 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter, and mostly it's around 55, 57. Of course, to most people, this is intolerable. In the past, they only heated the living room, instead slept with their clothes on, even wore hats in their beds, right? Well, my grandparents' place in Pennsylvania, when my mom would visit in the winter, when we'd sleep in the back room. They didn't turn the heat on. These were Europeans. These were Germans. No, they didn't put the heat on. Now, I didn't mind. My mother didn't like it growing up in as a spoiled American. We used to freeze our asses off back there, but not. We had a hot water bottle. Right? We had we slept in our clothes. We had a hat. These were Europeans. What they went through. They went through what all the Germans went through in the videos I went over, huh? So anyway, just want to wrap this up. was a long vid, but you know, Varg really did a cool job, man. I recommend it. Practical, of course. He's very right. You know, yeah, that's right. Oh, the shelf life. Oh, I gotta throw it out. That's a myth, right? Unless it's obviously rotten or there's a bubble coming out in the can. James knows this too. James LaFont, but it's this is being evident. You can keep it past the date. Okay, that's a thing to make you buy more. Right. So yeah, prices won't go down. You bet your ass. It's interesting too with the chickens, right? Oh, your eggs cost a lot. Ha ha ha. Yeah, they do. They do. Why though? Oh, because of natural forces. No, it's being done on purpose. All being done on purpose. So anyway, right. And what is your diet? Right. Plants are not the food to eat. Oh, plants are just add-ons to animal-based food. We mainly eat eggs, meat from hens, meat from rabbits, goats, goat milk. Goats are actually pretty good. This is the basis for our food production. Vegetables are nice to have, and fruit along with them. Very interesting. Very interesting. So, anyway, it's a little longer video, but I might as well. I mean, this, I really was a fan of this. This whole series is just great, right? In the future, when things start to break down, yeah, a dog is nice. Right? Remember the Marines in the Pacific, when they got canines? Some of the other Marines thought it was a joke. It wasn't a joke when the Japs infiltrated their lines at night, but couldn't get within 100 yards of the Marines that had the canines, the German Shepherds. Yeah, it's gonna be very useful in the future. There's a reason we like dogs. So. And of course, homeschooling your kid. You bet your ass. You bet your ass. So that's anything else. There's one thing in here, getting into LaFon territory. Sorry. That's right. Oh. So the idea of what you're allowed to have. Oh, right. You always do what's legal, right? He always tells you to do what's legal, right? And he makes a good point here. Guns are mainly good for attack and not so much for defense. In terms of what you would use it as, not so much as if you were in a military context. Obviously, the issue is, are you prepared? You know. Good. If you can get a license to carry, do that. If you're only allowed to carry a flashlight, then at least do that. A little field shovel, a hammer, some other heavy tool should be legal to have in your car. LaFon the proof. Yeah, there's more kids than this, man. Good for you, Varg. Man. Right. I was gonna read one more thing. I know it's a long vid, but I owe it to Varg. When you who read this and I survived in this modern world, and frankly, we grew up in what can only be described as an internationalist cesspool filled to the brim with degeneracy, filth, poison, and lies. If you read about survivalism, if you read this book, you're probably one of those who avoid drowning in that pool and instead try to surface and get out. And I think I managed to get out. But even if I did, and if you did, we still swam in that cesspool for some time. And we waded through a sea of muck before we got out and walked away with its stench. We were born into that cesspool. We can make sure that our children will not be cast into that like we are. And that's really the only hope, isn't it? All right. Oh, Varg-san, fight the...